Two brains, same test, same question. You've just lost $50. What do you do? The wealthy brain barely reacts. A flicker, then it moves on. The other brain lights up like a warning flare. Stress hormones spike. Decision-making narrows. For the next several hours, that person will make worse choices. Not because they're less intelligent, but because their brain is now operating in survival mode. This isn't a metaphor. It's a documented finding. And it might explain why poverty is so hard to escape, even when the money problem gets temporarily solved. Here's the uncomfortable premise of this video. Staying poor is rarely about the amount of money in your account. It's about what scarcity does to the machine making your decisions. Let's set the stakes. In 2013, a team of researchers, Sendhil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir, published a study that quietly reshaped how economists think about poverty. They gave people cognitive tests, simple stuff, pattern recognition, memory, problem solving. Then they asked half of them to first think hard about a hypothetical financial emergency, a surprise car repair, an unpayable bill. Just thinking about the money problem, not even experiencing it, dropped cognitive performance by an amount roughly equal to losing an entire night's sleep. Roughly 13 IQ points, by their estimate, 13 points. That's the difference between average and gifted. Erased just by making someone worry about money for a few minutes. Now, stretch that stress across a lifetime. Across every grocery run, every rent due date, every "can I afford this" moment repeated 10,000 times. That's not an occasional inconvenience. That's a permanent operating condition. And a brain running permanently in that condition isn't stupid. It's occupied. Mullainathan and Shafir called this bandwidth tax. Poverty, they argued, doesn't just take your money. It taxes the very mental resources you'd need to get out of poverty in the first place. So here's the open loop worth sitting with. If scarcity rewires the brain towards short-term survival, then how does anyone with that wiring ever build long-term wealth? What breaks the loop? Let's go deeper into the mechanism, because this is where it gets strange. A brain under chronic scarcity develops what researchers call a scarcity mindset, a tunnel. Literally, a tunneling effect. Your attention narrows onto the immediate problem in front of you, because immediate problems in scarcity are often urgent. The eviction notice, the overdraft fee, the empty tank of gas. The brain isn't broken. It's doing exactly what evolution built it to do. Prioritize the fire in front of you over the forest 20 years away. The catch is, wealth building lives entirely in that 20-year forest. Compound interest, career capital, relationship equity, skill development, none of it pays off this week. All of it requires exactly the kind of long horizon thinking that a tunneled brain is chemically discouraged from doing. This is why lottery winners so often end up broke again within a few years. Studies on lottery windfalls have repeatedly found this pattern. It's not because they're bad with money in some moral sense. It's because you can hand someone a fortune. But if you don't also change the wiring, the tunnel, the tax, the constant low hum of urgency, the wiring will spend it the same way it always has, solving today's fire. Money was never the missing variable. The missing variable was bandwidth. So what actually changes the outcome? This is the turn. Wealthy families don't merely pass down money. Study after study on family wealth transfer shows the money itself is usually gone within a couple of generations, if nothing else transfers with it. What actually gets passed down, deliberately, sometimes unconsciously, is a set of default behaviors that keep the brain out of the tunnel. Buffer, delay, distance. Buffer means an emergency fund big enough that a $50 loss simply isn't an emergency. It never triggers the alarm. The brain never enters bandwidth tax in the first place. Delay means practicing the habit of not deciding under stress, waiting 24 hours, 48 hours, before any financial decision made in a state of fear or excitement. Distance means physically and mentally separating the decision from the money, automating savings, automating investing, removing the moment-to-moment willpower requirement. Because willpower is the first thing scarcity steals. None of these require wealth to start. They require structure. And structure is copyable in a way that inherited fortunes are not. Here's the payoff. The old money mindset isn't smarter. It isn't luckier most of the time. It's simply operating with a wider bandwidth because it was never forced into constant tunnel vision. The good news buried inside a hard truth. If scarcity is a mental tax, then the fix isn't just make more.